You're listening to Real Facts on Real Estate with Sean Patrick Maloney.
That sounds good.
Welcome to episode 36, Using Email in Real Estate. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Maloney. Thanks for joining me today. I want to talk about email in real estate. Every day we work with emails, sending them out and receiving them in at an alarming rate. And a lot of people don't work with their email box properly. I want to talk about some best practices, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and then overall just some best practices as far as when writing emails, how to work it. So one of the first things I want to suggest is taking the time to learn how to use the system that you have. Whether you be working in Gmail, or you be working in a Microsoft Outlook, or any of the other inboxes that there are, make sure you understand how to use it. There's a lot of great YouTube channels where you can watch, or they also have some how-tos and help windows. So many people, all they know how to do is make an email or receive an email. And they don't understand a lot of the other nuances of what's there, like folders and different things that can help you organize your email overall. But the first tip I really have is to learn to use the platform that you have. That way there, you know what you're doing with it, and you're not just using it as a simple mailbox, because there's a lot of complicated things that can really help you. Everything from knowing how to set up your signature to knowing how to put an autoresponder on when you're on vacation are all going to give you a more professional image and create a better user experience over the other. So first thing that's most important to me is organizing your email box. I go in people's email boxes all the time, working as a broker, looking over shoulders, and we go looking for a file, or we go looking for an email. And when we do, we have no idea where it is. There is the search feature, but organizing your emails into folders based on the name of client, based on the name of job, whatever works best for you, is overall going to give you the best experience, because then you can go right to that folder and you can look at everything that's gone on. Personally, I either name them by deal or by client, depending on the exact situation. But if you go in my email box at any given time, I'll typically have less than 50 incoming emails in there. And the reason being is I use my email box as a task list. Everything, once it's done, goes into a folder, because there's no reason when I open that platform that I should see that email ever again unless I need it. And when I do need it, I want to know where to find it. So those folders will really help you with that, and it'll really help you be able to just go and take a consolidated look of what needs to be done today now. The next thing I want to talk about is search. Make sure you realize that on all email platforms, there's great search features. Up in the top, in the middle, there's usually a bar that says search. If you type in anything that you know that's in the emails, it'll go through all of them and find it. Anything from a number to a name to just a description. You want to put in little tiny pieces of information that you know the email contains. Do not put in big search queries like real estate for sale in Wareham, because if you do something like that, you're going to get everything that says real estate for sale, and it's going to get you a ton of results. If you know it's in Wareham, just write Wareham. If you knew it was on Oak Street, maybe don't even write Wareham, just write Oak Street. Or if you know it's house number 161, skip all that and just search 161 and see the emails that pop up. The more specific that you search, the less results you'll come up with, the more chances that you're going to only get the search results you want to come up. Also remember, there's a trash box or a recycle bin on all the email boxes. And when you use the search bar, at the bottom of all the results, it's going to say there are also, and it's going to say XYZ amount of results in the trash. You can either go to the trash and search there, or you can click the blue hyperlink right there, and that's going to lead you over to the trash where there's some other documents. I never recommend throwing away or recycling anything except for actual trash. What do I mean by actual trash? Somebody signs you up for an email list that you didn't ask to be signed up for and it has no value in it, then maybe delete that. But otherwise, don't bother making things that go to the recycle bin or trash. Make them go into the folders they belong in, and that way there you have it. One of the great things that has happened with emails is that we have a written documentation of everything that's gone down. So when someone tells you in the future they didn't agree to something, or when they tell you that they were unsure on certain details, you can go right back to that email and you don't have to say, oh man, I wish I didn't put it in my trash and then empty my trash. Good news is, if you don't go and empty your trash actually stays for a very long time and it is searchable. So you can go there. Like I said, you can either go by doing the search, scroll to the bottom, find the blue hyperlink and work your way over that way, or individually search the trash. You should be able to get away from this one pretty quickly if you're following what I tell you and don't get into putting things into the trash bin in the first place and organize them into folders, but for the time being, you might have to find some things in the past. Email boxes allow a lot of storage space, so the need to throw things out is pretty little. And then remember, when you're looking at trash and you're thinking about that, it's a good time to think about unsubscribing. On all emails, due to the Canned Spam Act, they actually have to give you a way out. On the bottom of many of these automated emails, they're going to give you an unsubscribe button. With that unsubscribe button, once you click on it, that's where they kind of get crafty. You want to read what it says next, because some things say, "Are you sure you want to unsubscribe? Yes or no?" And then another one does a double negative and says, "We're sorry to see you go. Would you like to resubscribe?" And there's a yes button. So you really need to read what it says, and you also need to read why you're unsubscribing, because sometimes if you unsubscribe from the wrong thing, you actually block the company from being able to send you other emails that you may have been enjoying. So read through the list, and some of them you might want to unsubscribe to everything. Other ones you might still want their newsletter, or you might still want their coupons. They usually have them segmented by what type of emails they are. You can check off the boxes you want and then set your unsubscribe preferences. But remember, if somebody that sends you these automatic emails you never signed up for and you unsubscribe once and they put you back on it, that's when you use that spam button. Go ahead and click on spam and send them to spam and let them suffer the consequences of getting blacklisted on email addresses so that they won't be bothering other people. If you are in business in real estate and you think it's funny to go grab business cards and create an email list, you're going to find out that your email address is going to become invalid because so many people are going to spam you, or they're going to unsubscribe at such a high rate that the emailers are going to know that you're just a spammer too. Only send email to people who value it. I'm not big on automatic emails, all these different things like MailChimp and stuff. If used correctly, they can be okay, but you're much better off to send somebody an actual email that they want. Also, in a format that isn't just an advertisement that says, "Hey, buy something from me," and I'm just going to fill your email box with total garbage. So just keep that in mind when working in email. One of the more important concepts in working in business and trying to get a lot of people on an email is the difference between BCC and CC. CC is carbon copy. That means that everybody within that email can see each other existing on that email. And if they hit reply all, it's going to go back to everybody. So when you're using CC, you want to be careful, because if you're sending things, maybe you don't want certain people knowing other people's email addresses, that's when you want to send a BCC, which is a blank carbon copy, which is going to give everyone the same copy of the email, except for they're not going to get each other's email addresses. I actually use BCC a lot more often than CC because a lot of times I don't really feel the need to have everybody know who got it. And I think it's just a lot easier that way there. If people do reply, it goes back to less people. Then another one I want to go over is appropriateness in business of the reply all button. Think about the people that are involved in the email. Do they need to know the information you're sending back? If not, then do not include them in it. One of the things that I talked about in the opener to this whole podcast is that we get too many emails and we have to sort through them all. So replying to people that don't need to get the email can end up working like the little boy who cried wolf. You keep sending those so people just say, you know what, every time I get an email from this person, it's useless. They just feel the need to just include me in everything, like that they'll attend some event or some other thing that absolutely means nothing to another party within the email. This often happens when a boss sends down an email to a whole bunch of people that work within the company, and they do the CC so that everybody gets it, and then somebody always has to inappropriately reply, "Hey, I'll be there," and let the entire office know they'll be there. I don't know whether they think they're cute doing it or what they think they are doing it or just they want attention, but the reality is it undermines their authority, and it also undermines their respect from others, because people do not like to have their time wasted, so make sure you don't be the time waster. When you do work with these emails like CC and BCC, another thing I want to talk about is email chains. Often in real estate, we send back and forth the PNS drafts, we send back and forth different documents, or just an overall conversation about the deal, and email chains get really long. The thing is, people like to talk shit. They like to talk shit about each other, and sometimes they think it's funny to throw it in an email. But what they don't realize is accidentally, when they reply all, they send out that shit talk to the other side, and they cause a whole rift of emotional problems through the entire deal, which there's no need for. First off, you're better off to say it in person or over the phone than to say it on an email or text. Second off, it doesn't belong in business. But third off, be careful when you're sending email chains. You'll notice if you do business with me, often I start a brand new email. Why do I do it? Because I don't need somebody to try to sort through miles of information to get to what I'm actually trying to say. And you'll notice on each and every one of these subjects, I keep going back to we get too many emails, we have too much information, so I try to simplify it. When I'm writing the email, I really take the length that I was going to write and I try to chop it in half. That way the person gets a concise message, usually put it into bullet points or numbered lists. That way they see exactly what I'm trying to get out of them and they understand what's going on with it. It's really important to remember, though, when you do get in these email chains, to make sure you read every email that's at the top of that email list. Because if you send an email across the party lines and you send the wrong thing to someone, you could be breaking your fiduciary duty, you could be disclosing information to the other side, or you could completely impair the deal, possibly even break it apart. So make sure that you do that. And you also could end up in a lawsuit if you end up putting out confidential information to the other party that ends up making it that the party that you represent is able to get less money, or for some reason the deal breaks apart and it was your fault from it, because if there's any evidence in the world, it's going to be that email chain that you sent by accident. Attachments is something important. We send a lot of documents in real estate. With attachments, there's not really a ton to know about them, except for that you really want to make sure you break attachments apart if that's the way that they actually should be filed. A lot of times people send a multiple document type item and they'll put them all in one and they won't note in the email that they're all there, and then someone won't even read it. They just download it and then they say, hey, I'm missing this or I'm missing that. Make sure you put in the body of the email what to expect in the attachments. The reason for this not only is to tell them what's there, but it's to tell them, and if you didn't get something that's within my list, then please reach out to me because I think I sent it. Sometimes in email, we're waiting on each other in this standoff where, hey, I thought that person was going to send me something, and then the other person's going, hey, I sent them what they needed. I wonder what they're doing. So if ever you are sending out attachments and things, you may want to send a note within the body of the email that says, attached to this email, you will find the purchase and sale agreement, the purchase and sale agreement check, as well as a smoke certificate. That way there they know if the smoke certificate's missing that you think they have it at that point. It's really important to communicate heavily through deals so that nobody's waiting on something, especially if we're working with the mortgage finance part of it, because we do not want to slow down the mortgage and have the whole deal have to have extensions just to get the deal done. When sending emails and you want to include links, that's something you want to watch out for, because links can actually lead to you leading into the spam box. Putting a whole bunch of links to things is a good way to end up having these auto readers that will put you into the spam box, put you there. So think about why you're sending links and what you're sending links to, and really try to minimize the number. They're not really the best thing to have. Having them in your email signature doesn't affect it the same way as having them in the body of the email, but just keep in mind that hardly anybody ever is going to go from your email signature to one of the links. So the link that you want to put within your email signature probably should only really be one or two, and it should be where you want your main landing page to be. Like, where do you want, if someone was to visit you, them to go? So your home page or something like that. Trying to put a whole bunch of different ones to direct them to a bunch of different places. Think back to yourself, how often have you ever clicked on a link in anyone's email to go anywhere? And chances are the number is probably pretty low to zero. I know a lot of you mortgage folks out there, you love to put the apply now button in your email, and then you love to just say to people, well, just click that button. I think you need to put a little more attention to your service, and you actually need to put a little more time into your clients and to explain things. And it really is not that hard to send them an email that says, please click here to apply. But putting it in your signature line and then referencing your signature line, it says to the person, I can't even take the effort to actually put an email together and send you an appropriate link to my page because it's just too much effort, and just go back to my email signature. It's just a lot to ask. But again, with links, just remember to limit the quantity and think about why you're sending them that link. I know sometimes you're going to have to send links, but again, try to think about what you're trying to gain out of it. I already went over it a little bit, but remember length on emails. Remember to be concise. With the fact that we're sending out so many emails and we're getting to a point where you have so much information, length is going to be everything. Don't take up too much of someone's time, but at the same time also, when we're talking length, think in the reverse direction of what I just said. Sending little 50-cent emails all day long, let the ideas compile a good email, and send it out. Don't send 7 million emails to say what one email could contain. And when you can think about this is, if it's 8 a.m. and I'm going to send an email, does this item need to immediately happen? Then I need to send the email. But if this item does not need to immediately happen, it has to do with one of my deals, but other items might come up during the day, maybe I leave it in draft and I keep continuing to add to that email until the end of my workday. And then at the end of my workday, I send it out. And then if you say to yourself, well, I just don't want to forget to send it out, let's bring up the next point in email. As you learned, now that you've studied your email box, you can actually set a timer. You can schedule the email to go out. So you put it in drafts, you add it, you make sure whenever you leave drafts that it's completed, as in it can go out in the condition that it's currently in, and then if you need to add, you can, and know that at 5 p.m. tonight, that email is going to go out. So learning to schedule your emails can help you on that level. And the other thing it can help you with is if you're a late night worker and you're a 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning worker, you don't want to be sending people emails at that time of night. It's a couple different reasons. Number one, you come off as a drunk or somebody that's on drugs because you're working at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Not that everybody that's up working at that time is, it's just a connotation that comes with it. The other one is, with people getting so many emails, your emails tend to get buried within their inbox. You're better off to send them when you know they're working between 9 and 5 or 9 and 6. That way they're reading them as they come in and you don't get buried by everything that comes in. Typically, a lot of the auto emails go off between 3 and 6 a.m., everything from people's Spotify's to their travel ones. And if you get caught up in those, the person might actually miss your email. So putting it to go off during normal working business hours when you set up these scheduled emails, it will really help out. And then the other thing with scheduling, it can be very convenient is when you're going on vacation, but you need certain things to hit on certain days, you can set them up way ahead of time. Or if you just want to send out an email to somebody in the future that's going to talk about working in business with you, you don't have to wait till that day to set up that email anymore. You can set it up right after you hang up with them to go out 6 months later and to get to them. That way they're going to get that email follow-up of, hey, we talked 6 months ago. You said you were going to be willing to sell your home during this period. Would you still be interested in talking with me? And that way there, again, it's done, it's set up, and it's ready to go. Read receipts is a very handy item. You actually have to turn read receipts on Gmail. Some companies you have to turn them on. Some you don't have to turn them on as far as overall in the settings to make them appear in the email box. But most all email servers actually allow read receipts. A read receipt is just a simple thing that when the person opens the email, it lets you know that they actually received the email. If you're working with MailChimp or you're working with Constant Contact or any of those companies always provide read receipts to tell you who actually opened your auto emails that you're sending out. But when you're sending out a regular email, sometimes it's important to have a read receipt, especially if you're sending out something that's a legal document and you want to make sure someone had it by a certain period of time. That way there, if you don't get the read receipt by a certain period of time, you can reach back out to them and say, hey, did you get that email I sent? And could you also just open it? Last but not least, I want to talk about one final item that's just kind of a pet peeve of mine, as well as a great way to keep yourself a professional. Proofread your emails. When I say proofread your emails, what do I mean? I don't just mean proofread them for commas, proofread them for spelling. Proofread your emails for what it actually says. What do I mean by that? How does it come off to somebody? When you're asking for something in a home inspection, per se, are you saying the seller must do something, or the seller should do something, or are you asking the seller to do something? As you're writing emails, you want to realize that people read them with tone. Just like we speak with tone, and you can tell when someone's talking to you happy or someone's talking to you mad. The only problem is they can only read the words you wrote. So if the words you wrote come off as angry, your email comes off as angry. If the words you wrote come off as happy, your email comes off as happy. So you want to be really careful about the tonality that you write your emails in. And then I did say we'll skip over them, but obviously spelling, punctuation, things like that. This is a professional business. Real estate isn't to be handled lightly. I actually one time was at dinner and I was speaking with a woman next to me, and she just went through a real estate transaction, and I said to her, if there's one thing you could have improved during the entire transaction, what would it be? As a broker, things like that make me curious, and I hardly ever get to ask people. And she said, I would have liked my real estate agent to be more professional. He constantly sent me text messages and emails without proofreading them, with spelling errors and all sorts of little acronyms that didn't belong in my business. She felt that selling something for multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars deserved more time and effort than somebody sending off a quick little email that has misspells, improper punctuation, as well as is not grammatically correct. So make sure you keep that in mind. I'm sure that these things will help you out. Make sure that you also realize working in your email in a professional way is going to lead people to believe that you do a great job with your work, and they're going to want to work with you more often. I hope this helps you grow your business. Please make sure to follow the podcast. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to email me, DM me, text me, call me, whatever works best for you. And we look forward to talking to you next week. Have a great day.